Welcome, Atlanta United family, to another episode of Resurge The Spike ATL. Here with our host, myself, co-host Tommy, our other co-host that we picked up along the way, like an abandoned child, on the side of the
Let's
road,
go.
James. um,
He's our
and
intern.
yeah,
Oh, come on.
yeah, and with our special guest today, from 92.9 The Game, Joe Patrick. He covers Atlanta United, Hawks, Falcons, Braves, basically all Atlanta United sports contents. He's there, man. So he's your guy to, if you have basically anything. I mean, Joe, you're one of the
I,
guys that's pretty open up, like to questions, and that's
yeah,
that's what I like about you, man.
I just show up. Well, first of all, with like my bosses, I'm very fortunate that I get to cover all these teams. But I just show up where they tell me to. So I've been like in Turner Field for Georgia State football games, like Georgia Tech, also. So yeah, just all over town. But it's fun, man. It's so fun to like get a taste of everything. And by the way, like doing this kind of thing with you guys is one of my favorite things to do because especially like I've heard you guys been talking in the Dirty South Soccer spaces, and Tommy, you do a great job kind of being a moderator of that forum, and I'm just like so impressed with the discourse that's on there. I listened back to it. If I'm not able to get on like live, which unfortunately I'm not able to get on pretty often, but I go back and listen to it because I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say, both you guys specifically, but also just like fans in general. I find the discourse on that spaces to be really, really good after games, and it's like so. I'd recommend that for anybody else, but just also just really respect you guys for voicing your opinions so clearly, and I don't know, you guys have some good takes too. So. Well, thank you. It's usually hot take hour when it's a bad game.
yeah.
But the listeners go up all the way with the loss. That Austin, I think that was our record. After that Austin game, we had the most people, and it was like 4th of July weekend. Didn't think that many people were going to hop on, but people stayed on all night. They did not want to end it. Isn't that the key of social media? It's not about like enjoyment; it's about like outrage or like grabbing people's attention. Yeah,
exactly.
Whatever works, man. You guys do a
Yeah,
great job.
but Joe, definitely, man. Like, really, 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 glad we could have you on here, man. Tommy has said, last week he had some direct contact, so we were like, hey, but no, we already, knew that we were gonna have you here, man. Man, just lovely, to have, somebody like yourself, just to be here.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is true. Can confirm.
I hate this guy so
Zope
much.
and Tommy are both. They're on different ends of the spectrum.
We're gonna have some fun in the comment section today, but definitely, man,
Oh,
Joe.
boy.
But before we get to it all, guys, go follow these guys and their social media accounts. Let's Go Ducks 96 for Tommy. You have James that is Cowdo Miss 26. And Joe Patrick, yours is JA Patrick 200 on Twitter. So, go follow these guys. Like I said, Patrick's always got some good content coming out, articles and all that with Dirty South Soccer, Dirty Soccer South. I mean, so, let's get to it. I mean, going back into the this gutsy win. I mean, literally, that's what it was. I mean, it was literally grinding that game out for Atlanta United. It literally felt like, obviously, going into the game, you have, the CONCACAF Champions League going, basically, I don't want to say have like a half team, the lineup was like, like a half of a starting team, but with Seattle, you're never able to predict, whether they're gonna bring in, the good side of them, whether they're, starting to, they're starting 11, whether it's, guys that are coming off the bench. But Atlanta did a pretty good job, in my opinion, on able to be in to like, just grind the game out. Sosa, was, I feel like, the key factor, in that midfield, because I mean, there was times where I literally saw like, guys from the center back like doing specific mistakes that, like led into, certain mistakes. And Sosa was that guy that, like was able to resolve that. And in my opinion, I mean, like having his presence, on the defensive side, when it comes to the offensive side, I feel like he didn't really contribute, like as much like how we would like to, but because we know that he has that quality. But on the defensive end, like his IQ is just up there. Like he's just spot on.
He's not Franco Ibarra, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's not Franco Ibarra now.
Our number 8.
Yeah, the number 8, Franco Ibarra. Yeah, I mean, just like it's the defensive awareness and also just the little bit of extra technical ability that he has, where it seems like Franco Ibarra, just his touch will let him down. Like, it's not always bad, but if it's bad every so often, then you're giving the ball away in a terrible area. And that's exactly how Seattle scored their first goal. So I think it's been pretty evident how much Sosa has helped this team since he's come back. And I mean, we'll probably talk about the midfield a lot, but I mean, I feel like with him, you can play Marcelino Moreno and Thiago Almada probably as like a 3-man midfield together, like Gonzalo Pineda did in that game after Rossetto went down. It's kind of like Almada steps into Mateus Rossetto's role and is like way better at it than Mateus Rossetto is. Thiago Almada is like this team's best player in pretty much every position except for like center back and goalkeeper, honestly. Like just because of his technical ability alone, like he's able to keep possession in areas that helps you secure different, places in the field. And obviously we know with his technical ability going forward, he can be so dangerous. So yeah, I mean, I think that, I've talked to Jeff Lorenowitz in the past on Five Stripe Final about, that 2019 season. And he has spoken pretty openly and bluntly about it, saying that like, the team was in a real injury crisis at the time when everything turned around for the positive that year. And it was really like, when they were kind of forced to play Justin Miram as the left wing back, which nobody had ever considered him that before. But then it all of a sudden works. It all of a sudden clicks and they're more dangerous and they're more attacking. So I kind of wonder if maybe this midfield situation that Atlanta United has right now with Rossetto going out is kind of similar.
Absolutely. I mean, Sosa's he's been missed. And he was so good early on the season. We don't really know when he had the sports hernia injury. I don't think really said what game, but all of a sudden his play went down dramatically and then he's out. Then gets forced back early to try to, play in the playoffs. And he's been gone since. And you could tell, I mean, this finally being able to have him start a game is just changed his team tremendously. Just gives that extra help on the defensive side that you need to help some of the misfortunes that they've had back there. They haven't had an extra person really be able to help clean up some of the messes out there. Ibarra has had some good games this season, but I think we've said whenever he gets an early yellow, he becomes useless in a game. He doesn't know how to handle himself. I think he knows that he's a red card away from really putting this team in a bad situation. So he tries to hold back, and if you have to hold back, he just can't do anything productive for the team.
Yeah, that was what I was gonna say about Sosa, what Tommy said, and basically just adding on, like Sosa feels like for me the only reason like we don't have to play with 3 center backs because you have a guy like Sosa in the midfield who can do everything for you.
And I mean, like Sosa pretty much was a center back, right?
Yeah,
under
exactly.
Heinze, like so he understands like how precious the ball is in that kind of area, and like that you can't make a mistake, you can't be giving the ball away, and basically like right where Franco Ibarra gave it away in that game, like right in front of his own box. It's just a death penalty, like for a team. You're going to give up a goal probably, or you're going to give up a great chance. So I think Sosa kind of appreciates that and understands the nuance of it a little bit more.
It's like, those guys that are able to play like that, and like, I mean, technically in soccer, I guess you would call it like a 5 position, like a Busquets type of position, where they're like so gifted with the ball, but yet again, they're like so good, like, defensively, like they're able to like close those spaces. And I mean, Kante, from Chelsea is another example. I mean, guys that are just, and I mentioned this, I think before, when it comes to like, having that presence, when it comes to the box to box mix midfielder, you didn't have that with Ibarra, you didn't have that with Rossetto. I mean, technically you didn't really have anything of both. I mean, you did have a little bit of bite, you know, a little bit of defensive awareness with Ibarra, but I mean, I don't know.
Can I say something? So you mentioned Busquets there, and I find that like a really interesting like player comparison for like what we've been talking about here with Atlanta United's midfielders, where it's not like Busquets was like a number 6, right? Like very much a traditional number 6, but he wasn't like a brutal defensive midfielder who's like tackling all the time and things like that. He was basically he was just incredibly smart, always able to be in the correct position, always able to just like use his technical ability to get the ball out of his feet to the open man and just never making a mistake. And that's what helped build that Barcelona team that allowed them to have like 75% possession every game. And so that's, to me, it's kind of like, it's evident of Sosa. I think it's almost kind of evident of like Thiago Almada too, playing in like, if he is playing like the Brazetto role a little bit deeper in midfield, like people might be worried about his defensive ability or lack thereof, but like really he's not a liability at all because he's so much sharper with the ball and is just not going to put your team in trouble when you're in possession.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's go back to the beginning of the match, like on Nonstop Access, what Pineda said before the match, like that message, that's like exactly what we needed. We look at this game, he's like, yeah, we didn't play well in the second half. We didn't do this or that, but at the end of the day, we got 3 points, and then that means everything. And I really love that from Pineda pre-match.
I'm glad they included that because I feel like every fan wanted to hear him say that, like honestly, like with the vulgarity.
Yeah, exactly, man. This is the first time we ever heard Ted Lasso, you know, speak from the heart.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions for you, Joe, is since Pineda's come into the team to where he is now, how have you seen him change in post games, practice? Because obviously we've seen him get into a little bit of trouble recently with some of how he words things. Yeah. And obviously I think Sam started some trouble there with Almada a couple of weeks ago that caused everybody to jump to the biggest extremes of what is really going on. How have you seen him just change talking to the press?
I mean, I think naturally he's just like more comfortable with us. He kind of knows us a little bit more. I would say that, like, I think that kind of Pineda got himself in trouble with that situation just with some of the things that he said. And I think that this is where, like, you get in trouble when you just are not clear enough with what you're talking about, and you're trying. And I think like he's not being clear because he's trying to like not be like mischievously disguise things, but he's just trying to like play things down a little bit, and like just not using very specific language, which I think is better when you just take your time to explain exactly how he explained it afterwards. I thought that was, much better response. And I would still criticize him for not starting Thiago Almada in that match. I mean, like, I still will. I think it was a terrible decision. And I think, and like the fact that like the reason why everybody was upset about that was because like every Atlanta United fan is like unanimously like, no, Thiago Almada is like our best player. He needs to be in the game. Not like that every Atlanta United fan thinks he's like lazy or isn't good or whatever it might be. So yeah, and that whole situation was a little bit of a fiasco. But I mean, overall, what was interesting? Like, we kind of joke about the media game a lot and stuff, and it was like super fun. But that like kind of really showed me a lot about Pineda. Just like first of all, how intense he was for the game. Like, he was like crazy intense, like slide tackling people, and like nobody's wearing shin guards.
Going Artur,
yeah.
Going Vidal mode.
Yeah,
Pepe.
We had a little mug because like he was like running in for a header, and I was like I was playing goalkeeper. I was like charging out. I was gonna like come claim it, and I was like, he's not gonna stop. So I had to kind of like stop in front of him, and so but I mean, like, I think that kind of shows you just like his like he still has a passion for the game, and he's still young. He's still like, what is he? 39, I think he's still in his 30s. So just like you can forget that sometimes when because he's in the position that he's in as a manager and stuff. So I think that honestly things like the media game are good. I think that it doesn't have to be that either. Like I sure hope over the years he can do more, not just with media, but just like the team can like take him to a bar or something for like a soccer game, like where like fans are watching like a European game or something, just like something to like connect with people. And I know that he would be the first one who would want to do something like that. It was his idea to bring fans out. And you guys remember that when like all the supporters groups were able to come to the training ground, like do all that. So, I mean, I'm a huge Pineda fan. I mean, I'm not going to say he's never made a mistake. I think he's made some, pretty massive mistakes, like I just mentioned about with the Almada situation. But, I think that he's still kind of sorting himself out too, just like in the job. This is the first time he's gone through a full season as a head coach. So I think he's learning some things, and you just hope that, some of these learnings will be, taken into next year, and things will go smoother and things will get better as they kind of continue.
He's 36.
He's 36?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
That's what the Wikipedia says.
Yeah, no, I believe like he was like in his mid 30s. Like he wasn't close to his 40s. Yeah, but
that's messed up.
Damn
overachiever.
It's crazy, when you think about like, the fact that we have all these injuries this year, and that, we still have the, that potential in the field. And, given the fact that, there's been some games that we've probably lacked, I don't want to say attitude or, you simple
leadership.
It's honestly simple. Yeah, you have lacked
leadership.
It. Like, yeah. You have lack like leadership, grit, just being able to, bring out that extra gear from, the entire team. And man, with next year going in, man, obviously, you're not gonna have, 3 guys that that went out this year. Brad, Miles, and Alonzo. I don't know if you're going to have them, by the beginning of next year. I mean, in my opinion, given their age, Miles, even him, maybe I'll see him, like towards April or something, starting to come back or something like that. But I don't know, man. There has to be some type of change. I mean, we all saw that tweet, with Brad Guzan, when was it, last night, that it came out, and a lot of people were speculating. In my opinion, honestly, I just feel like it's a documentary that's coming out. I don't think that it's like anything big or like, that wow, he's gonna, make this huge announcement. No, he's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna make that announcement there, man. No, it doesn't come down to that, and I feel like, but.
He would never do that in like a flashy way with like a video either. Like he would. I'm sure it'll be some sort of like rehab documentary or.
I mean, so with the highlights that they showed, it seemed like it was something more about like his trajectory throughout the league and all that but I don't know, man. I just feel like we have to lock down a position. And Joe, and this is a question not only for you but you guys as well, Tommy and James, going into next year, which is the position that you have to like certainly look at that is like a must replace for this team going into next year? In any position, and you don't have to throw out any names, like, but if you do, like, want to get all judgmental, but like seriously, I mean, I just want to get your opinion on that. Like, what is the biggest weakness that we have on the team as of now?
I want these guys to go first, but I did want to say just before they go, I'll give them a little bit more time to think. It's a good point that you make about Miles and Brad and these guys, especially that have gone down with the Achilles injuries, like to point out that first of all, it's probably going to be a full year on from until the point where they're able to come back. So that's into the season. And also I don't think you can really expect them to be like 100%. Like I think we know that they're going to be obviously affected by the injury long-term. Like it's just a brutal injury to come back from, and so easy to kind of lose some of your innate athleticism and just burst that you have. Probably maybe I'm just speculating here, maybe not as bad for a sport like soccer as opposed to like something like basketball where you're doing a lot of jumping. But it's a good point to say that like, you can't expect them to just come back and be exactly who they were again, especially like to start next year. They're not going to be around probably at the start of the year. It's going to take them more time. So the club has to be prepared for that. So I've got an answer to your question, but I'm going to let these guys go first.
Well, I was going to say, even if any of them would be, it would probably be Miles. Even though it happened later in the season, just being younger, you have the some players can heal quicker than others. So it just depends on how his surgery goes. But I mean, Joe, you chatted with my friend, earlier in the season, who's a physical therapist, and he said that Brad being able to get that jump that he's going to need is going to be rough for him. And it's very hard for someone his age to be able to recover. And then obviously Ozzy the same way. I believe he's older than Brad, so it's going to be hard for both of them. But especially for Brad, being able to have to make jumping off the foot, it's going to be definitely hard. But we've seen Cam Akers come back way faster than anybody, and rare that it happens with players like that. But it'd be interesting to see if Miles can at least get back within, maybe 10, 11 months.
Well, Tommy, I know we have the same answer to the who do you need to replace question.
You go first, and I'll just do something different, just to be different.
Well, you're the salary guy, and so looking at the salaries, it's Rossetto. So.
That was gonna be mine.
Yeah, I know.
That was gonna be mine.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were gonna have a clean sweep there. I thought I was gonna be
I could be controversial. No, I'm fine.
Well, because the thing with Rossetto is you look at every game, he's 95% passing, et cetera. So it's he doesn't look like the obvious guy. But again, I think that game against Seattle is kind of the perfect example of he's just not a game changer. He's just kind of a guy who maybe passenger is too harsh. I don't know how people take that word, but he's kind of just there. And the fact that he has 1 assist in his entire career with Atlanta United, no goals, that's just crazy. You can do much better than that. So
that game against Birmingham in 2020 definitely fooled the hell out of 99.9 of all Atlanta fans, I feel at that point, because he definitely was sold that as somebody that was just definitely going to be a guy that was going to be present not only defensively but offensively, and we just have not seen neither of it.
I remember watching his highlights when he was announced as a player, because I pretty much probably everybody else had never heard of him, and I'm watching these highlights, and he's running wild, taking long shots, but that's why you never judge off of Brazilian highlights, because that's just a crazy ass league.
Yeah,
I was back when I was in college, I would watch Fox Soccer Report on Fox Soccer Channel at 2 a.m. and they would have Brazilian league highlights, and it's just total YOLO, one-on-ones. It's just crazy. So,
but speaking of him, he's actually out, week to week, and I think one of you guys mentioned it obviously earlier. But now speaking to the tactical side of it, how do you think Pineda approaches the next game, given the fact that you have Sosa probably available again to start, probably maybe give you the 90 minutes. How much did he play last game? I think 60, 70 minutes or so.
He played 81. Gutman came in for Sosa. So yeah,
that was an interesting substitution there. That was really interesting.
I liked Pineda's subs in that game, in the Seattle game.
Yeah,
except for Ibarra.
Yeah. Just going back to Rossetto again, I only notice him when he makes a bad pass and intercepts the ball. I don't really notice him for doing something good, because he's just sideways passing the entire game. That's simple. And what Zil's saying, I don't know, Sejdic will get in over Moreno, but Sejdic hasn't been a player in his past 2 performances, especially that one game where he played very well. It's why not? He hasn't been terrible. Recently he's in good form in my opinion, so why not give it to him? But I could see Moreno starting. But it depends. You're away from home, so.
I agree that Sejdic seems Sejdic is. I think it's fair to say he's maybe a little bit more inconsistent than a player like Rossetto. At least if you just look at passing numbers and stuff, because Rossetto is just consistently extremely high in that department. But I feel to Zill's point, I think that Sejdic is just like, he's like a little bit more aggressive, you know, both offensively and I think also like defensively, just like kind of getting himself stuck in. And, you know, the point is when we're talking about, you know, making roster moves in the off season, we're having this conversation between Sejdic and Rossetto and trying to parse like who's better. Maybe one is slightly better in some areas and the other is better in others. But the difference is like Sejdic is an off budget, like senior, honestly, like a senior minimum player, and Rossetto's on like 600 and something thousand, which is just a huge tax on Atlanta United's budget. So that's what a lot of this comes down to.
Well, also right now you would like to have Hyndman because you don't know what he can give you, and him and Rossetto are making like the exact same. So.
Yeah, if he were healthy, I mean, he would be in my best. He would be in my midfield, Hyndman.
I mean, for a team that always goes down early, you got to be on the front foot. I think you got to put all your best players in. I mean, look how good we are when in the second half when we put everyone in all those games. It was like, all right, the Orlando game, you know, we just come in, just keep attacking. So I would say that you've got to score first. There's too many games this season where we're just trying to recover from being down 1-0 in the first 15 minutes of the game. So if you're going to win and make the playoffs this year, you've got to be on the front foot. You can't keep coming back because this team's record in its history is not very impressive from coming back from a goal. So I'd say start your starters, start your main players, and those are going to get you to the playoffs. And if they don't, then you've got to replace all these guys in the offseason.
Yeah, and then looking at what Cincinnati did, they just ran away from Philadelphia, and they couldn't respond. And that's one of the freaking best teams in the league, and it's a fantastic comeback from Cincinnati. So that should be crazy.
Yeah.
It feels like if you're not playing Sosa with Moreno and Almada at this point, you're just kind of like wasting time in the game, you know, that you could be using better players that are going to give you a better chance to win. I think the more interesting conversation, honestly, is like, what do you do ahead of those midfielders? Because like Joseph Martinez's form is like completely terrible right now. I'm still not sold on Cisneros as a winger. I thought he was maybe better playing on the right wing than on the left wing against Seattle, but there were still moments in that game where I was like, damn, if that was like an actual winger there getting the ball in that situation, he was like, doesn't quite have the skill on the ball, like the dribbling ability, the close control to like really be a threat. But he is a threat as a central striker, just making those runs with his pace. Like he's consistently logging the top sprint speeds on Atlanta United's team according to Second Spectrum data. So, I think right now maybe the best like lineup for this team is to play Gutman, put Gutman back at left back, play Caleb Wiley on that left wing. He gives you that kind of natural width that that Luis Araujo was giving the team when he played on the left side against Seattle, and then you play like Cisneros up the middle and Araujo back on the right side.
Yeah. So one guy that we honestly have like completely forgotten about is like the debut of Edwin Mosquera, and you know Silva's over here like talking about like the lineup that he will put out, but I mean like I want to get your guys' opinion. I mean like in my I kind of like went down to the tunnel a little bit earlier, so I didn't really get the chance to like actually catch when he came on and everything, but I mean, just your opinion, you guys, what do you think about him? Like, does he have something to offer?
I don't think we know honestly yet, like exactly what he is, because like his cameo was just so brief. But I gotta say that I think that he presented himself as like a pretty dangerous weapon in the way that Pineda used him in that game as a sub off the bench. I think obviously part of that is just down to, fitness. He can only play so long. I think he's got to like work himself up into that starting lineup though. Like he first of all, I mean, just fitness wise, I don't think he's ready for it anyway, but he's got to prove it with performances that he is the best option. I just don't know if he's quite proven that yet, but I think that this team has kind of been lacking a player like him off the bench that you can bring on. That's like kind of the guy that Jake Mulroney was, and he had some success in that role. So it was good early signs from Mosquera, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say
more talented Jurgen Damm, maybe.
Yeah.
I was going to say he's Jake Mulroney with upside. Like that's about.
Well, he kind of fits like a profile that I feel like the club has been trying to like have somebody like fulfill that role for a while. Jürgen Damm's been one. I think even like Dion Pereira was one. There's been some others, just like younger, maybe not. Okay, Jürgen Damm wasn't young, but like a fast guy, kind of just a true, winger essentially that has that kind of pace. And Mascara seems to me to be much better than Jürgen Damm through 9 minutes of action so far. He was legitimate dangerous on counterattacking off of those corner kicks late in the game.
I hate him so much. Get the comments off. Get it off.
Can Mascara do TikToks? Because if he can, he'll more likely do more than that.
I will say Sunday made me, every week that goes by, it's like, we can't have Joseph Martinez as a DP next season. We cannot. Every game I'm losing confidence. And
that's definitely something that's a subject to bring up, Tommy. Yeah, definitely.
It's the hottest subject for the rest of the season and the entire offseason. Like,
going
this
into
affects
the
your franchise for years. I mean, like, I know, Joe, you talked about how he has an option after next season, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. I think you've gotta have to make a decision here. I think this offseason, personally. I think the more he goes downhill, the more value you lose. And I don't even know I think more of the value is just getting another DP spot opened up, even more than the money. But I don't know. How is this team different with someone that's able to make the runs that we want, make the runs that Joseph used to be able to run and score? He just looks lost out there sometimes. And I don't know. It's getting frustrating a little bit more every week. Like, you're expecting somebody to get on fire. And I was hoping there would be some point this season where Joseph would all of a sudden just come back and it would just click one day, and it hasn't happened yet. So, I've been saying that literally about everyone on the offense. Someone's going to click and go on a goal scoring streak. Like, you've seen that so many times with Atlanta United. It hasn't happened. Like, we're just getting random goals from other guys, which is nice because you see the goals more spread around the season.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, your main guys have got to score, and Joseph's just not there. And God forbid he has to have another knee surgery.
Hey, we all thought Araujo was going to be MVP candidate, right? I mean, at least that's what I thought. No, legit, I did thought, once he came into the league, literally last year, I was like, all right, this guy literally may have something to, he has speed, he has, the talent, but I mean, after that injury, the first game against Kansas, it literally went all downhill for him. He's literally been the most probably inconsistent guy other than, probably hand-in-hand right with Joseph, honestly, when it comes to, production, when it comes to assists or goals, mainly goals.
I mean, when Araujo scored that goal against Cincinnati last year, like, that was like, I mean, okay, that is like next level. That's like, I mean, that is MVP quality. It's you're right, Ariel. It's like about being able to kind of doesn't have to score like a goal like that on a consistent basis, but just has to play consistently in a way where he's just like a incredible threat, looking very potent against the opposing team's defense, game in, game out. And I agree, he hasn't kind of been that. It seems like he tries to do too much sometimes. Like, he just kind of, when he gets on a run, it's just like, all right, head down. I'm just going to try to beat everybody instead of maybe delivering a ball or something. But yeah, I mean, to go back to Joseph, I mean, the thing that's really, I don't know, sad / disconcerting is like, it's not even just the movement. I mean, I know that's been like a big point of contention and a legitimate one, but like, even when he is getting the ball in and around the box, he looks like he's like totally rushed and hurried. He had that overhead attempt against Seattle where there was like no reason to. It's like he's playing like there's a player on his back, constantly 100% of the time. And if he takes one mediocre touch, then he's going to lose the ball. And so he's just he's like playing lots of dummies and stuff. And that's always kind of been part of his game. But he just looks like he's way overthinking it. And I think I may have said this on Five Stripe Final this week, but like, you compare it to like when he's been at his best, like that 2018 when he scored that record-setting goal for goals in the season against Orlando, and like that's the total opposite. He was like so composed, just like ball rolled a guy, like made the goalkeeper go to his knees and then just like chipped it over him. Totally different. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've been actually encouraged to see a lot of fans not be so blinded by their love for Joseph as a person and what he's meant for Atlanta United, because everybody does feel that way about him. But I'm actually just encouraged by the fact that a lot of fans see that, like, you know, we need more production, not just from that position, but from his spot as a designated player, where it's just a massive loss. And not many teams in MLS are going to be successful if you have a designated player that's just lacking production as much as Joseph is right now.
Yeah,
and he said he was rejuvenated, right? Like he said, my career's rejuvenated. I think that's when he went on the rant in the locker room. And we haven't seen that. And that worries me that he says he's rejuvenated and he's got, you know, some of his best days ahead of him, because he wanted a raise, you know, last year with Heinze and the Felipe article. At least he said, he's like, I want to be the highest paid player in MLS and all of this. And like, you just told the entire, you know, locker room, I'm rejuvenated. You're not playing like it. Are you going to be? So if a rejuvenated player isn't going to be asking for less money, so it worries me thinking that it's even possible that he could, you know, move down to a TAM player. And I just don't see that. And then also, I'm not sure what his relationship with the front office is at this point. You know, we did see Boca, and we got to give credit.
There's no front office at this point, honestly. I feel like, seriously, it's all in the balance. Like, whether it's, you know, they all leave, you know, or, you know.
Well, Boca did get a couple people to take decreases this year. I mean, Hyman took a decrease, and Greg Guzan took a decrease. I don't know if Joseph, at this point, how the front office relationship is, and how it is going to be going forward with them. Now, a new president could have a new outlook and maybe negotiation skills. You know, who knows if Boca's even staying? But Joe, I asked you this a few weeks ago on Spaces. I said, who's going to be the face on 92.9? 2 weeks in a row, Boca's the face. I saw.
He is.
I
That is
listened to it
confirmed
this morning, and I was like, "Wow, 2 weeks in a row!" And he's so dry. Oh, he's so dry. It's so hard to listen to.
I was literally talking to some people this morning about that, and he's the guy who will be on 92.9. Yeah,
There's the sand in the middle of the desert.
Hopefully, people have their seatbelts, you know, fastened when he comes on the radio, because he's just, you know, makes people so excited.
Bring the guy he's the guy to bring the party on.
Can I have a rebuttal to Joseph Martinez though, real quick?
Yeah.
Because we still have 10 games left, right? And I feel like with Gonzalo Pineda, he's had a different role, because when Pineda speaks about, you know, guys running in behind, he doesn't even mention Joseph. He mentions Cisneros, he mentions Wiley. And what I feel like is that he still has this adjustment period. He's playing with all these new players like Cisneros, Wiley, and, you know, just name a couple. But I feel like you have 10 games. He should start all 10 no matter what. He's still trying to get back, even though he says he's fine. But all it takes is one goal in Cincinnati, just like last year. He had that freaking goal of the year, in my opinion, and then he had that in 2019. I just feel like he's got to get used to these other guys, and, you know, I'll judge him in 10 games, but he should start all 10, and he should wear the armband, because that's what he does. Even though he doesn't lead, like you guys all say, he leads by example, and he's not having the example, and he's got to prove himself. And now he's gonna be a dad, so he's gonna have dad strength. So that's good.
Touche. I'm not opposed. Like I don't know. I'm very torn about this. Obviously, I just said like a lineup that wouldn't have Joseph in it with Wiley playing up front, but at the same time, like, I understand where you're coming from, James. And I was actually saying that, like, a couple games ago, I was saying that, like, you know, use the rest of the season to try to get Joseph back on track and see what he has. I guess the reason that I'm kind of wavering now is because, you know, you win that game against Seattle and the table looks a little bit better. You know, you don't seem completely out of it at this point. So maybe you do need to chase results.
Do you agree, like, that he has that, like, kind of different role, and he's more like kind of like a poacher, I guess, and he relies on other players' service to make his own moves, to do whatever he wants, instead of running in behind anymore? Because that's what it feels like.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's clear that he's like trying to come. Well, so here's my problem with the way that Joseph's playing right now is like his back is always to goal. And like when he was scoring, when he was at his
Mhm.
best, he was running at goal, and like that's like the service was coming when he was facing goal, and he was usually just finishing with his first touch. So I don't know. I kind of like, I would like to see him revert to that, but maybe that's not possible with like the player that he is right now after all these injuries. I've like floated this idea around that's dumb, but just like, what if you like played him off the left or something, just to like try to like change things up to like get him so that he's in different positions, because I mean, it's clear that he wants to combine with some of these attacking midfielders, you know, like that's what he's trying to do when he's dropping like he is. But it just doesn't seem to be helping the team when he does it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he showed it and it worked in one game against SKC in freaking February, but
yeah,
other than that, it's just you can't play that number 10.
You know, one thing that like really stuck out to me like against Seattle this last game is like you know, we're getting to the whole subject, you know, with Joseph, and I mean, there was this one play. I mean, it was definitely on the second half because it was like closer to like the area where I was at. But like, I mean, he got like a touch. Like, I don't even believe he got a touch it to the ball, but like, you know, like he could have made contact to the ball, you know, before it got to, you know, him or like, you know, the defender that cleared the ball. But I'm like, I mean, like I feel like, you know, like Joseph 2017-18, you know, he would have took that first, you know, first touch and at least worked the keeper. But you know, when it came to that scenario, I mean, like the defender literally got to the ball before, you know, he was even able to get a shot off and just close him off. And you know, that's the simple things that I look at, you know, and I get it, you know, he hasn't even, you know, been 6 months, you know, after his injury, but I don't know. I just feel like it's a big gamble for this club, you know, to just keep on relying on Joseph to being that guy. You know, I get it. He's the face of the franchise and everything. You know, he's the, you know, basically an Atlanta, you know, sports GOAT, you know, at this point. But I mean, I don't know. I just feel like Joseph is just not the guy. You got to bring in like, and I think I've mentioned this on here, you know, in previous shows, but you got to bring in a guy that's, you know, guaranteed goals. And we don't have guaranteed goals at this point. You don't have a guy that, you know, whether it's of a corner, of a deflection, you know, that's gonna be able to, you know, make something happen in the area. Um, you know, and we just don't have that. We don't have any threats offensively that, you know, are able to give you that, you know, in the penalty box, basically.
Sure.
I think there's two different things we're talking about with Joseph right now. One of them is about how do you just get him scoring, like right now? How do you get him to help the team right now while they're on this playoff push? The second thing is, what do you do with him once you get to the off season? Like, let's say, how many games are left? 10 or 11?
10.
10?
Yeah.
So let's say in the next 10 games, he scores like 8 goals or 7 goals. Is that like changing your mind to like, then are you like, okay, well, we will give him an extended DP deal? I don't know. Like, I don't know if the cake is already baked, basically, you know, as to like who he is or what people's perception of him are. And I think if you're Atlanta United, you got to think about, first of all, like, when does he want to be here on the contract, you know, on the contract that you're giving him, but like also, you know, what is the opportunity cost of keeping him? Like, like you could get an allocation money haul for him, which would be hugely beneficial for helping rebuild this roster, as well as clearing the DP spot. So, you know, that's the question that Carlos Bocanegra is going to have to face regardless. And I don't get the impression that Joseph and Bocanegra have the greatest relationship with each other. I kind of joked, I wasn't even joking about it. Like, I think it's serious. I said, I think it was probably after that Austin game at some point. I was like, I don't know if this talent is big enough for both Bocanegra and Joseph Martinez. At that time, the whole Eel situation hadn't come out, so that kind of changes things. But in terms of extending him, is Carlos going to be the one to do that, you know, while you don't have a president right now? There's just like a whole lot of uncertainties with the situation right now.
It's going to be nice to have a fresh set of eyes on this team. Who knows what happens here with Brad Guzan, but there's a chance that, you could potentially use that buyout on Brad Guzan. And I don't think Boca or Darren would do that. I don't know. I mean, that's, you get your one buyout and maybe they don't have anyone that, specific, and maybe they want to just clear the rest of the salary off of it. You don't know that, but it feels like this organization's been loyal to some. There hasn't been a lot of loyalty in a lot of places. I think we could say that after those early teams. But I think there's a couple of guys that they always have felt loyal to. And I think that he's one. And obviously, who knows what that deal was, as far as negotiating his salary down. Maybe, I think, Joe, you talked about earlier, maybe they made a deal with him that they wouldn't trade him or they would protect him in the expansion draft. There's a lot of things that possibly, behind the scenes, we don't know about what they've done. But someone different coming in and looking at this roster, I think, is going to just be refreshing in general. Because I think there's been a lot of mistakes over the past few years as far as signing certain players for certain contracts that don't produce and don't score goals. We don't sign guys that have a history of scoring goals, and it's beyond frustrating. Anytime that there's a rumor for Atlanta United, I just go and immediately look to see, has this guy ever scored a goal in his career? And 90% of the time, it feels like the answer is no. Mm-hmm. They've never scored a goal.
Bro, literally, who's the second goal scorer in the history of Atlanta? I think it's Miggy, right?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because
I think
it has to be Miggy. Literally, we haven't had a goal scorer like that. 2017, 2018, that's, whenever we were racking up goals. But literally, I mean, we haven't had a pure goal scorer. Since Joseph.
And even just on a team, since Joseph hurt his knee, this team has just not scored a lot of goals in general. Yeah. They just have not been even this team right now. They scored 2 goals against Seattle, but that was coming off of 2 straight shutouts. The last goal that they had scored previous to that game was that Parata header against Orlando. It's just there's clearly been that's been an issue for this team ever since Joseph stopped being a cheat code in this league.
Yeah, Villalba and Almiron tied for 22.
Yeah. Bro, Silva's internet is way ahead of us, bro. Because
in the future,
Silva's commenting on our comments before we even say it.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, I'm watching the game. Sometimes, we're on Twitter Spaces, and he's over here, commenting, oh, damn, man, we got a corner just now, and I'm bro, literally, we just clear the ball, from our net. What the hell are you talking about?
Dom Dwyer's 1 goal away from tying Yamil Assad.
Wow,
that's crazy.
I mean,
Dwyer ball, baby.
Hey, that was a good signing, Dom Dwyer. I didn't see it coming.
Man. Hey. Speaking of that, seriously, man, what is the deal with Dom Dwyer in your opinion? I mean, we have a lot of speculation, going around, whether it's the attitude, whether it's the fitness, but what's the thing with, Dwyer in your opinion? Why he doesn't get that, starting role, or why he doesn't get many more minutes?
I think it's probably fitness to me. I don't. It's not a personality thing or anything like that. In fact, if there's a glue guy, it is Dom Dwyer in the locker rooms post game. He's when they win every so often, when it does happen, he's having a great time. Very.
You see it celebrate. I mean, he ran straight to Gutman. There's a picture I think that they posted. And he's just waiting for the hug. He's in the middle of the field waiting for that hug. It was great.
When we were talking to Gutman post game, there's an island countertop in their locker room, and he's standing on the island, taking pictures of Gutman with all the press surrounding him. So he noticed that Gutman was shocked by the fact that the media was swarming him. It's pretty funny.
On the broadcast, there was a part where Dwyer was standing behind Pineda, and the announcers were what is he doing? Why is he's just hanging out while Pineda's talking to the ref. He's just hanging out there, and nobody knows what he's doing.
All
So, just, well, second to the last question, before we head out, but, who do you guys think is the next player to, from Atlanta United or their academy to go out and make the big leap into the big leagues in Europe?
Thiago Almada, next question.
Yeah.
That's simple.
Yeah, let's exclude
like that.
Thiago Almada. It is Thiago Almada. It is Thiago Almada. But let's make it interesting and say who else would it be?
Caleb Wiley.
The youngster. Who's the other young? Well, I mean, Almada's a youngster as well, but I mean.
So I agree on Wiley. I'm just not certain how soon that's going to happen. Not because I don't think there's going to be interest, but I just think that he's a very key player for this team. So I don't know. It still could be him though. I would have obviously said Miles Robinson. I thought Miles Robinson was like dead on set.
He was definitely more out the door. He was definitely more out the door than anything.
Yeah.
But he could be the next Walker Zimmerman, getting a big contract, here. But I mean, that all depends on him, but
yeah,
I feel like, he still has the caliber, to get to Europe. I don't think that, the injury is something that might set him back. I mean, just personal, just in my opinion, I don't think that is something that is going to set him back, basically, in his career.
Yeah. It could be like Heinemann going to Portsmouth or something. I could see Heinemann wanting to get back over, even if it is in the championship or something. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is Wiley, I guess. I just don't think it's going to. I don't think the move for Wiley is going to happen soon necessarily. Might be a couple years. I mean, he's still 17 right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's still a lot on the line, with Wiley. There are a lot of developing, basically. But the last question, before we head out, going into the Cincinnati game, away from home. Tommy, you're going to that, right?
It's the first Ohio game that I have missed because I promised my children I would take them to Machine Gun Kelly and Avril Lavigne.
Oh my god!
Where I'm going to prove
and
that
Avril
Lavigne is a clone. So that will be my.
It's like cross generational.
Talking about Jeff,
like.
yeah.
We'll hit him we're gonna hear him in Twitter Spaces afterward with that with those speakers booming.
I'm gonna need a lot of drinks after that night. But in Atlanta only scores bangers in Cincinnati, right? Like the Joseph goal, both Joseph goal twice, and then Hernandez had that big goal there to tie it when everybody was on the international break. They've just scored some great goals out there. So this is the first time. I mean, this is going to be the first time this season we're going to win back-to-back. We're going to win 3-1.
There we go.
There are good vibes in Cincinnati. I'm already picturing like Machine Gun Kelly having the crowd going wild, and Tommy's like watching an MLS game on his phone. Just like in the middle of the crowd. Just
it's at Brown Stadium. I'm like praying that the Wi-Fi I can watch it on the Wi-Fi.
He's gonna be that guy that's gonna be on Twitter later on because he's watching an MLS game. Other than turning, like I don't know if you guys like literally it went viral.
Somebody
that one
filming
video.
Tommy watching a soccer game during a concert.
No, there literally there's this one video of like this one time where like a dad was like literally like he had his phone out like this like to his kid behind him like in a Atlanta United game in Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
That's right.
Yeah, and I was like, bro, that literally went like viral as hell. They were like, singing the anthem and like the kids are just so concentrated on the video. And I'm like, bro.
No, my kids are 13 and 14, but it's gonna be me with trying to hold 2 beers and have my phone in my hand to watch the game. So
well,
$18 beers.
Oh hell no, so 2-1 Cincy, Vasquez and Acosta, and then Cisneros scores are. Man,
get rid of him.
I don't even know. Is Vasquez playing in the All-Star game? Is he an All-Star?
He should be.
I've not been following the All-Star.
He's not starting because I saw that.
He's not starting.
Yeah, I think it's 4 Eastern Conference guys are starting, but that's not.
I mean, my gut says 2-2. for some kind of score draw.
Yeah, I will be there. So 4-3 Atlanta. There we go.
You'll be at the game?
Yeah, I'm taking the hike.
That's
It'll be awesome. I like TQL is definitely a spot I want to go to. So
looks like a really cool stadium. I would love to go there.
Yeah,
I was there for USA
like at every
Mexico.
home game, honestly.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's a lot better than my trip to Nashville. That did not go well.
Yeah, that's the game that y'all got rained out and y'all had to hang out in the lobby.
Oh my
or
God.
Like
It was terrible until all the fake Nashville fans left, and then it was kind of emptied out. But, yeah.
I will say Ohio has like the worst luck with rain games in Atlanta United, especially like Columbus. I was at that mud game.
Yeah, there was the one where it like started downpouring at the end, and Parkhurst like told a story where they like told the trainers to go turn the showers on and get them hot because like all of a sudden like the temperature dropped like 20 degrees very suddenly, like a front moved in. And Parkhurst, apparently had the trainers like go turn the showers on hot before the game was even over, so that the players could just like run off the field and go jump into a hot shower to warm their bodies back up.
It was a crazy game because it was beautiful. We were out tailgating. It was raining a little bit. Watched the game. It's raining the whole time, but it's warm. And then by the time we went home, it dropped like 30 degrees. It felt like, and the entire road home was ice. Like it was snowing, it was ice. It was terrible. And that field, like we moved down, everybody left. There was probably about less than 200 people in that stadium. And Oak Crew Stadium was just garbage. It was just a garbage stadium to begin with. But I mean, nobody was there. We walked down, and like when the players were running the sidelines, there was so much water. Like we were getting hit with water. It was like standing on the side of the road when a car was driving by, just hitting us with water. It was a fun time.
Yeah, that's Ohio, dude. It's just freaking...
I never heard of nothing like that in my life. Where
Yeah,
it just suddenly drops 20 degrees.
The sky's closer to the ground in Ohio. That's what they say. I can say that because I've got family from there, so they'll flock down to Florida every winter just to get away.
It makes sense, man. Literally. I mean, Tommy, I don't know how you handle it. I mean, you probably say the same thing about us. You were here down in the South, a couple of weeks ago, and you were like, how the hell do you guys handle this goddamn heat? Like,
yeah.
You guys are cooking up down here.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like we usually come in like October, like for a Falcons game or whatever, and it's just beautiful. Usually that's like fall weather where it's getting real cold and sinus infection weather. Yeah, that's when I come down to Atlanta for a week and hang out
in October.
All right, guys. Well, before we go out, follow these guys. Joe. Man, I forgot.
It's J.A. Patrick 200. There you go.
There we go. I already remember
soccer, 5-stripe final, all that stuff.
I already remember these guys, so let's go Ducks 96 for Tommy. Cowdo Miss 26 for James. Resurge Spike ATL for us, and follow, subscribe, and share our content out, comment, any concerns, questions, anything that you guys have. James, Tommy, Joe as well. Thank you for your time, and let me go ahead and